Welcome to the Archotechs, a RimWorld fluid ideology series about pursuing the Archonexus. Episode 5, Pain is Virtue. To briefly recap last episode, we made it our goal to try to improve the living conditions of our trio. And this episode, I'm hoping to get some trade done, or at least my orbital trade beacon and console. Another thing that we're going to almost certainly be able to do this episode is to reform our ideology for the very first time. Engo has not yet converted to our ideology, and upon conversion will grant us 1 development point. Once converted, I'll also enslave, granting us another development point, which will net us a clean 10 needed to reform. The order of the different memes that are going to be added to our ideology is already predetermined. This was voted on way long ago before this series even started. But if there's other things for you all to vote on, I will absolutely put up a poll and have you vote when it becomes relevant. Other goals for myself. Definitely one will be to improve the armor that my trio has, or that really everybody has, Zleb included, so that if we do find ourselves in combat, I'm going to be able to defend myself. We have also killed off the sheep here, and one of the things I'm going to do is to suspend Butcher Creature, because we don't really have room for the meat, not yet. But what I can do is make some room. So I'm going to shrink this zone down to only just kick out the potatoes. And that way, the potatoes aren't going to rot, but that way we might be able to free up some additional space for meat. It also seems to me that this emu hanging around my farm is almost certainly going to try to eat my crops. So that's another thing I'm going to tend to. I don't want my crops eaten by a wild bird. Oh, but I missed. That doesn't help. You want revenge? Well, you'll get it in the grave. Maybe I'll get food poisoning as a result of taunting the emu. Who knows? I'd also like to get some heaters going. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to put a heater in the research room, and then one in this bedroom. And then if I have to add additional heaters, I will. But I'm trying to keep everyone's moods as high as I can. And sleeping in the cold is definitely not going to make people happy. So there we go. Engo has converted, and now it's time to enslave. Engo, in converting, has granted us 1 development point. Interesting enough, it doesn't actually tell us that. I don't know why, but it does work. So Trustin is working diligently to try to floor up the area that will be the walkway to the ritual, throne, and bedrooms. And I'm getting that constructed now. This will be the hallway. I guess what I could do is put the door in, because I know I'm going to have a wooden door in the future. And now he's installing the vents. Bunny is going to be cleaning up a lot of this filth. This filth is inside of my dining room, and as a result, sort of removes any hope of having any sort of benefit from a nice dining room. But likely, more certainly, we're not going to get any benefit until I actually build a dedicated one. All right, let's take a look at Bunny. Bunny is cutting stone blocks from a chunk. And instead of doing that, I'm going to have Bunny transition back to steel mining. We are running very low on steel in this community, so steel mining will help. All of these additional tribals that have raided us, I'm going to pull out their skulls. So we have 6 corpses, and I'm going to put 6 bodies in here. I'm not really ready to dedicate the steel to gibbet cages in order to sort of suppress Engo or the other slave, because I'm going to be having them wear body straps and slave collars, and they're not really going to need the terror. I'm doing this mostly for role-playing, but it does cost a lot of steel to be making those. So speaking of which, let's get Treble wear a strap and collar for Engo when Engo gets enslaved. But in burying them, we'll have corpses for the future, in case I want them. Let's free up some space for the butchery. And Zleb will have a bedroom almost certainly tomorrow. We'll try to pave that. Trustin does not spend a lot of time sleeping. He's a quick sleeper, so he's helping us put the whole base together, I guess. So something that I would like to do is to design a unified storage area to keep stuff. I'm going to build an orbital trade beacon down here in this location, and then wire it up for power like this. Now, one thing that you might notice, and I'm sure you have, is due to the fact of the soft sand, I'm not going to be able to fully wall this off with stone. And I'll fix that later with a moisture pump. Moisture pumps can turn soft sand into regular sand through normal operation. Everything else a moisture pump does will turn some sort of liquid into a solid, but in the case of soft sand, it can remove it, which is good. I'll be using that mechanic. Engo here is just moments away from being enslaved with a will of 0.3, and we have an animal migration of capybara. If I want capybara meat, I could fire upon them, but I'm already struggling with the amount of meat storage that I have in my base, so I'm going to give these capybara a bit of a pass. I'll change the queue for slate blocks to be made, and then this little slave here seems to have finished sowing all of the crops. So the next crop I would like is cotton, and just a whole lot of it. I'm going to turn some of the cotton into clothing, some of the cotton into recreation, some of the cotton into chairs and the like. So putting a whole lot of cotton to the ground will definitely benefit me in the long run. Zleb is making the last of the slate blocks required for this building, and there it is. And that means that we have another bedroom. So with the 4 bedrooms, every single person won't have the barracks penalty, which is handy when trying to keep people happy. The next goal is to decide exactly where my recreation room / dining room will be, and also additionally where I might locate a crafting room. Now, a crafting room is probably best located next to my stockpile, so that's going to be food for thought. Maybe building it in this location, perhaps, but definitely building it out of stone, not metal. And there we go. An exoticus trader coming in from West Hinia, and Engo has enslaved. So with Engo enslaved, I'm going to set Engo up with work priorities. We're just going to copy the other slave here, and then take a look. Engo might be useful for construction, but I think for now, is just going to help out in the farm and maybe cleaning more than hauling. This bed here, or this bedroom, is going to be for Engo. And then Engo will immediately change styles to fit our ideology. Trustin is going to start working for Engo's clothing so that Engo will not lose suppression. He started with kind of a lot of it, and I don't want to lose it. And then slave number 2. I'm going to start numbering them. Looks to me like I don't have any more room to butcher that emu, so I'm going to wait until the spoil timer nearly runs out so that it's not a waste. So now that we have all of our ideology development points accumulated to be able to reform for the first time, let's get that done. The way to do that is to, well, click here, our ideologens, and click reform. Now I cover this in a lot greater detail in the Fluid Ideology tutorial, and the link to that can be found in the description. You're given an option of changing your structure, memes, or style. I'm going to be adding a meme. Now at the start of the series, or even before it, we did vote on the order of memes that I add to my ideology, so the next one up is Pain is Virtue. With Pain is Virtue added, it's going to automatically readjust some of my precepts, so I have to go in and make sure that the precepts are set correctly. If you haven't done this before, please save before you reform your ideology, because it will mess things up, and I'll prove it. When I hit confirm, I'm brought to the precept screen, and there's some bugs with this, and I hope the bugs get worked out, and I've actually reported some of them, but so here's the first bug. I don't, by default, have Pain is Virtue, or rather scarification. So I'm going to set scarification to minor. Another bug that you will see is the scarification ritual is going to be a little bit messed up the first time I try to do it. So Archic scarification. And then instead of a gladiator duel, I'm going to set myself up with animal sacrifice. The animal sacrifice will be anytime. The benefit will be psi focus, and this will be Archic sacrifice. Another thing I wanted to do, the Discovery Lanterns should be Discover an Ancient Complex. The Burning Alliance will be Nearby Faction. And then this one is supposed to now be the Random Recruit. Good. Now the other thing I wanted to do is to add in the role. I actually lost some roles here. You may have noticed. So we'll put in a Prime Guardian role here. And I'm actually going to name this one Prime Guardian as well. Our melee and shooting specialist having the same name. It's not going to be confusing because you'll see the icon. So other things that got messed up when adding the new meme is corpses are now seen as ugly. I'm going to have to set that back to don't care. Otherwise, that would be a bit of a problem for people that like skull spikes and corpses in gibbet cages. If they were ugly, well, that's a bit of an issue. And I believe that about rounds out all of the things that we wanted to reform, so we can hit done. And what's really going to be important for us to do is to save and load, and I'll explain why. Do you see something missing? The Archic scarification is just not in the toolbar. We're not going to be able to do any scarification. It's just missing. So in order to get that back, just a quick save and load, and that will manage to add it in to the rituals that we're able to perform. I'm not really sure why the bug exists. It's obviously a fluid ideology bug, but you don't need to report it. I already have. I'll let you know when it is fixed. So here we are. And all of a sudden we have this begin Archic scarification after the save and load. So what we can start to do is to scarify the targets here. Now, one of the problems is that Bunny is not going to be able to target herself without a moral guide present penalty, but that's fine. I'm not going to do that just yet, though. Oh, actually, no, I am. I take that back. So let's have Trustin go first. I have met all the requirements, and it should be pretty easy to get some additional development points. And as you can see here, the development points to reform again is 12, and it will go up by 2 until it maxes out at 20. So the scarification is a result of the pain is virtue. Pain is virtue is essentially people think pain is a good thing. So there's also some other changes that I'm going to need to make to the colony. One is the introduction of slab beds. Slab beds are beds without comfort, and everybody in our colony here is going to want uncomfortable beds. So I'm going to have Trustin start to make that. And also Bunny start to mine the requisite steel in order to get the structures done. So here we are. Trustin has a new scar on his left arm. It doesn't change his manipulation rate. It's okay, but a little bit of pain means that his got scarified is done. Unfortunately, it was boring, and that means no development points, even at 100%. And everybody else in the colony is going to expect to be scarified soon. Now, the exotic goods trader has some incredibly good stuff, but I really don't have any money. I have some, very, very little, but not quite enough to buy what I want. Obviously, an Architect Eye or an Insanity Lance. Maybe I'll buy the Insanity Lance. That sounds like a good oh no button. I tend to like to buy Insanity and Shock Lances for when raids are overwhelming and I need to do something in a panic. So if we take a look at Trustin here, with the Got Scarified, we have the Got Scarified benefit, and then the Scarified, which is permanent. So there's a permanent one and a temporary +3. We're getting the slave body straps made, and that's going to be for Slave 2. Slave 2 here has gotten work priorities, but what we do need to do is the food restrictions and clothing restrictions as well, so that he doesn't get any big ideas and tries to put on something that might actually be comfortable. I want your horse to stay out of my kitchen, thank you. So Slave 2 has tattered apparel, and I'm going to raise the apparel here so that they only wear apparel between 51 and 100%, which means he'll take off his tribal wear and wait for me to make new tribal wear. I also have a visitor from the kinship of Brielle coming in with some stuff to trade. I think? Nope, no stuff to trade, just visiting. All right. There's stupid animals just keep coming into my kitchen and causing a lot of filth that doesn't need to be there. I'm a little worried about the food poisoning, but hopefully it doesn't happen. Fingers crossed. All right, taking a look around the colony. Now that Slave 2 is up, I'm going to have Slave 2 don this slave body strap, and let me spend just a second to clean up the ritual room to start yet another scarification, because they will expect it, so it is important for me to get it done. This target here will be Sven. Now, if you could see, Trustin doesn't require further scarification, because we have scarification requirements as minor. Possibly in the future, when I have enough things to decide, what I can do is to put up a poll and poll for all the options. One of the options might be, what level of scarification should our ideology require? But I'm going to wait until there's enough to poll at once so that I don't just flood you all with polls. It's easy to just do that, and I'll try to hold off until there's enough to decide. So here is the second scarification ritual, and it's going to Sven. Now, it's funny, Celeb here is absolutely covered in scars, and you're probably wondering, oh, shouldn't that, count? And unfortunately, no, it doesn't, because it's not a ritualistic scarring. It's just natural scars, so that's something I'm going to want to remedy. So here we are, a right eye scar. That's pretty gnarly, but it doesn't actually change sight. Sight's the same. And this one was good. Perfect. Now, one thing that you'll notice is I didn't get development points, and that's because the scarification ritual is one of those repeat rituals. And because it's a repeat ritual, you don't get any development points for it because it would be really easy to sort of power level if it did. So it doesn't. Okay. Zleb is still cutting the limestone. And this is going to be obviously the orbital trade beacon stockpile. And I have it a little bit larger so that we might be able to fit things like comms consoles in there. And biofuel refiners and things like that. Spacious is always nice, especially when it's just desert and there's really not a lot of encroaching forest or anything like that that I need to worry about. And I'm going to try to do one scarification a day. Now, I might not bother with the scarification of the slaves. They want it, but it's not that big of a deal, mood-wise, for them not to have it. Pain is a virtue, and scarifying the slaves would mean that we have virtuous slaves, perhaps? A little strange, so that's why I'm considering leaving it out. Okay, this emu is going to spoil quite soon, so I'll allow the butchering. We have a partial stack of bird meat, so there's plenty of places to put the meat from the butcher. Slave 2, the warrior, fully healed. Once everybody's up, it will be Bunny's turn or Zleb's turn. Probably Bunny. Now, it's going to be a little strange because Bunny is the Archic prophet, and as a result, the possibility of it being a negative ritual is higher because she can't be present at her own scarification because she's she can't be the cutter and the cutty, or whatever word would be the one who gets cut. But that's not that big of a deal. Now, before I finish this entire stockpile, I do want to make the comms console sooner because there's a possibility of trade opportunities that I could take advantage of prior. So let's go ahead with another scarification without the moral guide present. I guess while, oh, she was waiting down there. That's funny. Everybody's waiting for her. And then Zleb will be tomorrow. I wonder what body part will get scarred. So far we have an eye, an arm, maybe a leg this time? Torso? Neck? Who knows? A leg, yes. An arm, an eye, a leg. And it was satisfying. Awesome. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of cheap meat spoil. Probably could have been avoided had I made sure to stockpile and stack, but it's not that big of a deal. All right, so there's the comms console, and I'm just checking to make sure that there's no one to trade with. And then I'm going to have Trustin start with the slab beds. What I'm going to do is hold out for only excellent slab beds. So I'm aiming for excellent or better, which is kind of funny because comfort should be ignored, right? But the quality of a bedroom still matters to people like Trustin, so we're going to hold out. Now, the difference between an excellent slab bed and a regular bed is basically nothing. There's no functional difference. 107 immune, 114 rest. 107 immune, 114 rest. They're the same. The only difference is one is not comfortable. But if you take a look, comfort, we no longer have a comfort bar. We have just beauty and outdoors. Our comfort bar went away because we believe that pain is a virtue. We haven't sown any of the cotton yet. Very eager to get it in the ground. Seems like I have to be a little bit more patient. And some of this tinctoria can go towards dyeing slave clothing. So speaking of which, I'm going to have Trustin finish, because this slave's suppression will be dropping periodically if I don't get that done. So slave number 2, collar. And then this is the tribal wear. Now I'm going to try to do my very best in remembering to strip them before I donate or sell them. Because otherwise I will have to remake the clothing, and, well, I don't really want to have to do that. Let's try for some additional decent beds. I'll be micromanaging Trustin for this. Nope. We won't settle for good. There's another excellent. So Sven's bed that he used to use is going to be set up as a hospital bed. And then Sven will take the new excellent slab bed as his own. And for now, Sven's just going to live here in the research room because it is nicer than the bedroom that I would have made for him anyway. And this becomes hospital. So I still have need of like 2 more slab beds. Well, we'll get there. Now, other things that people might want in the bedroom is skull spikes. I'm going to set up everybody with a skull spike per bedroom, just so that it reminds people of our evil ideology, perhaps. So I'll have them constructed and moved. And then all of these corpses here need to be well, skulls extracted as well. I'm going to have Sleb do that. That way I can make more skull spikes. Now, skull spikes aren't free. We do have to spend some steel making them. But if it keeps the people of our ideology happy, it's worth it. And it looks like I have a little bit more steel for slabs. Now, one of the advantages of slab beds, because they lack comfort, is they're also cheaper. And there we go. An excellent bed. So there are 30 per slab bed, where normally they'd be 45 for a normal bed. So, I don't know, kind of nice. And this one will be for Bunny. Oh, I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea why he hauled the steel back. But sure. We forgot, or rather I forgot, to do the Arctic scarification for Zleb, so I'm going to have to remember that early tomorrow morning. And the benefits of the slab bed here is that we get a little +2 because we believe in it. I'm getting a little bit of a warning for warm clothes. Now, I do have dusters queued up, but Trustin's been working so much on construction, he's not been able to tailor. I can also, and here's one thing I could do, is put toques on everybody. So I could make a whole lot of toques out of the cloth that I have and fix the whole, pending cold weather. Once Bunny is up and has eaten for the morning, we'll do the scarification. Perfect. Bunny, I'm going to have everybody start to move towards the ritual room. This is probably the fastest way to get it done so that no one's waiting an excessive period of time, and then clean it up and trigger it. So we've had an eye, an arm, a leg. I wonder what this will be. Okay, the same arm that was already hurting. Good for you. And it was satisfying. All of the scarifications that I feel like I need to have are already done. I'm not going to sweat the rest. And then this stockpile, let's construct the zone, is going to be a strange diamond shape on purpose. So I'm going to put pillars in the 4 corners here, and then standing lamps to keep it illuminated like this, and then to roof it up, and there is going to be a diamond shape in the middle that will be revealed once it is made, shaped like that, like a donut. So we've got some decent and dull bedrooms. I think if they were all clean, they'd be decent. Hard to keep them clean, but perhaps I will cue one of my slaves to prioritize that. Slave number 2 is actually, let's have him start cleaning. So this stockpile here is going to be the trade stockpile, and this trade stockpile will allow everything minus weapons, and then actually all raw resources minus steel and stone blocks. So that is basically everything. No weapons, and that means everything in here is going to be lower priority, and I'm going to clear it all and say weapons only. So this is going to be a weapons only stockpile, and this here is going to be a weapons only stockpile. And what will happen is the slaves only have access to this stockpile, so they'll haul weapons to this location, and then we can haul it in to the rest. It's not that much of a threat that you don't want slaves hauling weapons into a stockpile, but I think just to keep them away from weapons, which makes sense if you're trying to suppress slaves, we won't let them in there. For slaves that I intend to permanently keep, the ones that will be named, I'll scarify them. But not for the chaff, not for the ones that are just for trade. All right, most of Trustin's build orders are coming to a close, which means we'll start to get good clothes. And Bunny is about halfway done with yet another steel node. It's very costly to construct the initial colony. And as you can see, we have a very big footprint. Much larger than most of the other bases that I make in my series, for those that are familiar with my other work. This is large. It's supposed to be very regal, in a way. Imposing, I suppose. Like a perhaps a pyramid. Monumental. But also an edifice representing the sort of enslavement and suffering of others. Lest we forget we're supposed to be evil. And we, speaking of evil, are being attacked. Probably by good people. So, this is a prepare a while raid. And there's 3 groups. So it's definitely going to be to our benefit to sort of divide and conquer. The majority are coming from the north. And that is exactly where we're going to be headed. So I'm going to be drafting the slaves here. And heading north to Wolf, White, Okapi, and Salamander. And I'll be using my slaves as sort of tanks. Yep, perfect. Slave is tanking. Alright, one is dead. This slave is shot. Taking more slaves is probably my top priority, but not where I will get hurt by the raiders. I'm not going to risk the health of my colonists by taking down raiders no matter what. Zleb here getting hit a little too much. So I'm gonna have her back up. And let's actually get behind the blocks and chunks. So the north group is attacking. And do we get white down? Yes, we do. So white here, slothful optimist, who's actually very capable planting plants. That right there is going to be very useful. Possibly a permanent slave. One that is very capable with plants. So, let's patch him up so he doesn't bleed out. Bunny is definitely the wrong person to do medicine care. Sven will do it to Zleb. And then the other groups are going to be attacking me shortly, so I should get ready to defend against them as well. So Slothful, interesting enough, is not a terrible trait for a slave to have. Especially one that's going to be a farmer, because if you're slothful, it means you're slow, obviously. And because he's slow, he's going to have a lower sort of risk to running away, because the slower the movement speed, the less the rebellion risk. The other groups are starting to attack now, and I just picked up the person I want to capture, and I'm gonna stop patching up Zleb for now. Zleb's one of 2 wounds has been patched, the torso one. Just trying to get into position for the next group. So we have this Pilla wielder here, and then over here is a Pilla and recurve bow. So they're all ranged. Pillas could be used as melee, but they're also ranged weapons. Bunny has sort of pushed forward to try to get Archonexus taken out, because these guys are likely going to set my my farm on fire if I don't get there quickly. I also can spin up the turrets here, these mini turrets, but they're not really in the right position. Yeah, they're bashing the cages and the like. So taking a look at either of these guys, this one I have no interest in keeping as a slave. This one, perhaps. Perhaps. Sickly is not ideal. It's going to waste a lot of medicine, but having a full-time cook isn't terrible. And never mind, he's dead. And so is the other one. All right, where is Trustin? So Trustin will be ripping the skulls out of everyone else that have just tried to wrong us. And then what I'm going to be doing is dropping this person off and tending them. While slave number 2, you move your bed. And we're going to put the prisoner in there for conversion. Oh, he's up. That's awkward. Let me try to punch him. And he's dead. Well, that is just unfortunate. And that is also the end of this episode. If you have any feedback for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to chat about the Archotechs in real time, Rhadamant.com has a link to Discord. It can also be found in the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope to catch you next episode or in the comments. Farewell.